Welcome to Revival Radio. We're here on a special set. We just finished recording some programs on the Pilgrims and the Puritans. But I want to take a break out and tell you a story. Imagine this. Imagine arriving in a strange place with nothing but the supplies you brought and the people you traveled with. It's the middle of December and you have no home you can go to and nowhere around is cozy, warm, and dry. Well, that's what happened. The Mayflower carried 102 people across the Atlantic. After encountering severe storms, the ship was blown off course and landed in the Cape Cod area instead of the Hudson River area in New York. Settling near Plymouth Harbor, only 52 people survived that first year, and it looked like no end in sight for their problems. The seeds the Pilgrims had brought with them wouldn't grow in the New World, and they had to cry out to God for help. Well, a Native American showed up. Was he a friend or foe? And he could speak English. The hand of God had come to save them in the wilderness, and Squanto understood hardship. He had been abducted by the English sailors years earlier, taken to Spain, then England, and eventually made his way back to his people. When he returned, his final hardship was learning the entire tribe had been wiped out by illness. He was the sole survivor. Another local tribe, the Wampanoag, adopted him into their tribe, but he didn't really feel like it was his home. But since he could speak English and had lived in Europe, he was able to talk to the Pilgrims and show them what they should do. The Pilgrims were extremely grateful. The Pilgrims really had Thanksgiving only because of Squanto. Squanto explained this, the three sisters, corns, beans, and squash, that they could be planted together with fish as fertilizer and they would help each other grow. The corn needed nitrogen, and as the beans grew, the corn stalks pulled nitrogen out of the air and deposited it back in the soil. The large squash leaves guarded the soil around the corn and the beans, protecting them from weeds and animals. So, by the end of the autumn 1621, the Pilgrims were beginning to thrive, and although there were further trials ahead, they were very helpful and thankful for the guidance of Squanto. The Pilgrims marked their bountiful harvest with a 3-day celebration. They invited the local Native American tribes, and they all spent 3 days celebrating and eating. Governor William Bradford explained, "The Great Father has given us this year an abundant harvest and granted us freedom to worship God according to the dictates of our own conscience." It was a celebration of Thanksgiving. Squanto lived the rest of his life with the Pilgrims, and Governor Bradford's quoted as saying this, "A special servant of our God, he never left us until he died." The hardships Squanto experienced from being torn from his land and everything he knew, sold into slavery just like Joseph of the Bible, and then suffering the loss of his tribe, he did not let that stop his calling or his future. He allowed God to use him, and he saved the Pilgrims. Squanto was in the right place at the right time. So from all of us here at Revival Radio TV, KCM, and EMIC, happy Thanksgiving.